Yeah, Coach. What was in the aftermath of the game? Did you assess the operation there at the end and what you
Yeah,
all how you
yeah,
plan to move
absolutely,
forward there?
absolutely, D-Led. That's the thing. You look at kind of your after action, what happened, why things happen. Uh, what's always going to hold true when you make critical errors in this league and you turn the ball over and you're -3, your chances of winning are pretty low. So how do you shake it out? I think it's been about 6% this year, according to the numbers that looking at this morning, give or take what it is, right? If you lose the turnover battle, especially just goes on. So if you're +3, I think it's like a 94%. It's always changed a little bit here, but that's kind of held true for a long time in this game, and we got to do a better job of taking care of the football and finding ways to get the ball from the other team. So that's certainly making it hard as you slice it up. You can slice up numbers however you want, but that's a critical factor we've got to eliminate. The operational errors. Again, that hasn't been a trend. We can't let it become a trend, but they happen, and so you have to acknowledge that it's easy to say what what happened, why it happened, and what are you going to do to fix it. So those are things you're looking through. All three of them are different. That's why I said yesterday, it's on all of us, but we can do a better job. But we gotta. It's not all going to be on one person, the quarterback, right? We got to get lined up. So you're not late in the shot clock, and you can see some of the pressure stuff. But that's what happened yesterday, and subbing late, trying to get a guy back in there, trying to get the right call. Get late on there. And then you got to make a decision to burn the timeout. That shouldn't happen either. So those are things we got to fix. Like I said, it hasn't been an issue around here, but you have to acknowledge it did happen, and it hurt us, and we can't let that become a trend, just like the turnovers.
Yeah, Art, I guess now when 10 starts in, how much do you feel like you know about Dez?
Yeah,
Maybe still don't know.
You learn a lot. I mean, the thing is that he's a very tough-minded guy. I think you guys that deal with him know that. He's a real person. I think what's endearing about him is he's very honest, and he's got a lot of courage. And I think that's a big part. Just like I said, I think when you stand up here, it's easy to stand up here when everything's going well. You want to jump in front of the parade, but your job as a head coach, play caller, quarterback's league is to stand in there, and be accountable. And it's not on him, but he is one of the more accountable people I've coached. And so certainly you can say it's growing pains and whatnot. Like I said, Mike, you'd love to be able to say, well, the passing game is getting a lot better, but throw 3 picks, the end result's not going to be what you want. But that part of our offense is clearly expanding. I think you're trying to be more balanced. I've said it. We've been different from 21 to 22, now in 23. This young core of skill guys as we're trying to continue to evolve and be more balanced, which we think will certainly help us in the long run. We've got to eliminate some of these critical errors. But I think you can't deny the fact that the passing game has gotten a lot better. But we've got to eliminate some of the critical mistakes. And it's refreshing to coach a guy like Dez because he is honest, aware, coachable, as we all try to be.
And you mentioned obviously balance. The run game, with you guys are facing, maybe it's tied for the second most 8-man boxes in the NFL.
Yeah,
that's part of this at this point.
Well,
maybe why it's
sort of, but I mean, that's so miscalculated too. It's like how they're playing. I mean, some people are playing 8-man box and they're buzzing out and posting out, playing some 2. They're trying to get some single high run fits in there. Whether it's pressures, it could be 8-man, depending when you're going to count it in there. There's certain schemes that there's ways you hold off at same numbers that they throw at you in Tennessee, and it'd be like, well, still ran for 200. But there's different schemes that attack it. So I'm not taking anything away from it, but yes, if you're trying to play traditional, well, it's kind of what Josh asked me yesterday, and you want to be where you're balanced because then you got a lot more to defend. So when you're continuing to expand in the passing game, that certainly should benefit you in the long run. The problem is, some of our turnover and critical mistakes have cost us points. That's clearly going to be the next step. But it's not. We never abandoned it. And sometimes there might be some ugly runs early. I would argue that we started to kind of wear them down, but it also helps your protection. 'Cause if you just go back and you go 45 straight dropbacks, it's going to be pretty brutal.
Last year, it didn't seem to matter whether they're stacked
Different
box and all. But yeah, but I guess my point is the run blocking was so good last year. Have you seen a difference in that this year?
No, I mean, look, here's what happens a lot of times. I mean, those guys get paid a lot of money on the other side too, and so they make a play. You know, we kind of getting some of those 3, 4, I call ugly runs, and then you obviously start hitting bigger ones later in the game, and you tweak some things. There are games within the games, but you know, I think sometimes last year too, there were some quarterback runs and some things we were doing that opened some things up too. So that's kind of the give and take. You know, overall, I think sometimes when you have a lot of long drives, you know, it makes it more difficult to score when you're not, you know, hitting explosives or finding ways to make it easier on yourself that way.
Arthur, I know you said the passing game on the macro is getting better, but when it comes to the interception and the magnitude, the impact of that type of play, I mean, is it disheartening to see Dez go from last week to this week? Does it qualify as a regression in your mind or a step back? I mean, how do you characterize week to week that play?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to acknowledge. I mean, those are things that happen, right? So you break it down, and you know, okay, so that's what it's always hard up here because I don't want to ever sound like I'm making excuses or denying the inevitable, right? What happened happened, but I think you do if you want to look at it macro, big picture. And there's a lot of things that are expanding, and they're, you know, making some big time throws, and guys are doing a good job getting open, and that should benefit us. But the critical errors, I mean, like I said, you go -3 in the turnover, it's going to get you beat more times than not. They're different. That's the only thing I can say. You know, if a guy was making the same mistake, you know, the result still goes down as interception, and why they happen, they've been different. I wouldn't call it discouraged, but clearly we got to eliminate those critical errors.
Coach, getting Van Jefferson involved in the offense so quickly, how were y'all able to do that, and can you build on his
Yeah,
role in
absolutely.
the offense?
That's a credit to Van. You know, Van came in here and picked up things, worked extremely hard, and he's very, very intelligent, and thought he could help us. He had something that we don't have. I mean, he's another speed guy, but a really good route runner, and he's got size to go with it. And he said we took a shot with him. But, you know, if you're risk adverse, you probably check it down to Drake. Dez, you know, we believed in him. We saw it on the practice field, and he was rolling. I mean, they were even with him, and felt like he was, you know, that old adage, and gave him a chance. And I think he put the ball about 62, 63 yards in the air. We missed him, but he's a guy that could take the top off. I thought he ran some other routes pretty decent, but a credit to Van.
And if you all can do that moving forward, I know I looked it up. Demir had a bomb like that at Cincinnati last year.
Yeah.
Does that help the run game too when teams know you can hit that?
Sure. I mean, I think you know, we talk about backing some people off, safeties and whatnot. Demir did. You know, that was in a 2-minute situation before the half in Cincinnati. You know, as you're playing the game, first, second down, kind of changing some things up was the shot with Van. Different players, but certainly it does help you like, because you got to know the guy can launch it 60 yards, and you got a guy that can legitimately go get it.
Yesterday you said you went for the 2-point conversion twice last year with the Rams and Bucks. Both those were with under 5 to go in the game.
Yeah, it's in the fourth quarter. Same numbers if you're going to use it. Yeah, I mean, you look at it.
Clock in that self-evaluation process.
Sure, you look at it in the fourth quarter, and you know, if it doesn't work, you deserve to critically question those things. And if it did work, you still question them. That's just my mindset. But yeah, I mean, get in the fourth quarter, or you could argue. Again, I don't know. We wouldn't probably do that, but you could argue anytime you're down 8 if you wanted to. I mean, the math. If you really wanted to get in the weeds there, but that's not what this conversation is. What it does, Zach, is whether you believe in it or not, it does increase your odds to win in regulation. So you don't get the first one. Obviously, it still makes a one-possession game. You know, if they get a field goal, it certainly makes it harder. You know, take it from 10 to 11 if you look at it that way. Like I said, you know, we decided to be aggressive. We got the penalty. We went into a goal line run. Allen made a play, stopped the momentum, stopped us from getting a yard. So, do you think you get any more possessions? Absolutely, but you're trying to win the game. So you're just looking at the math there, and that's what it came down to. Green Bay used it in week 3 and it won. and against New Orleans. So it's not something that's been a traditional football thing. Is that people looking at numbers different? Those decisions you make, and I don't think it's a perfect answer, but we did. We went forward, and you live with the consequences. We have plenty of opportunities. You know, even if we don't turn the ball over down there, if you got to kick the field goal on 4th and 7, you're still going to get another possession. The touchdown's going to win it. So there's a lot of ways to, you know, look at it. But yeah, if it doesn't work, that you always, I mean, whether it works or not, you still got to critically evaluate it.
I guess I'll follow up on that. Does the analytics also go based on your personnel? Because you could say last year's to this year's defense vastly improved. So if you play for overtime, you still have maybe a better chance of quote unquote win. Because with the rules, your defense would give you an opportunity to get the ball back and succeed, as opposed to years past.
Sure, you can make a great subjective argument with that, but you also could lose the coin toss, and they got the ball first, and you may not get a chance to match it. So, I mean, you could play that argument too. I think it's going to come down to a coin toss. I know you get to match it, but if they go down and take the ball right in the regular season, the game's over. So that's what the numbers are. So you can slice it however you want, but the numbers, you know, still trying to win it and be aggressive when you're making an 8-point game. That's what you're basing off of, and what you still felt good, and that's regardless of the defense. Thought to get the ball back, and thought make it a 6-point game, and you get down there and go up 1 and score the second one. But you got to live with the consequences when it doesn't work. It didn't work, but it's a strategy that has. Doesn't mean we're going to 100% do it the next time. But you got to be. You talk about being accountable, Zach. That's what you got to live with the consequences. Just like going for it on 4th and 3. We don't make it. We get them to their 4th and 1. You know, we don't stop them. They execute better. They get a throwback screen. They go put points on the board. So those are the things that you live with.
Arthur, you guys got the faster start you wanted this week. Was there anything noticeable, tangible that you know, made that look better?
I mean, he just got into the drive. You know, we took the shot on the throwback. Missed. Thought he did a nice job. They gave us a different look. He progressed. He hit Kyle right in the void of his own. Kind of got the drive going. Got a chunk play off a keeper to Mack in the flat, off something that we had shown that been a heavy run for us and was wide open. Drake converted another 3rd down in the red zone. And then we got a look we wanted and kind of hit a play action pass, and Kyle went over the top. So it just kind of got us into the drive, kind of similar to the second drive last week. Yeah, just get in the rhythm of it, and we were able to hit kind of a chunk play in the middle of it. That's what it was. It was good. I mean, it was better, obviously, execution. And then we come back and we have our chances, and you know, they get the punt down there, and that's kind of a momentum swing, and we didn't take it back.
Just to follow up on that, it seemed like the rhythm was perfect that drive. Everything was in sync. Of that 10 plays, how much of that was scripted? How much you just feel in that moment because it was the first drive of the game?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to make. I mean, you had the old Bill Walsh, you know, script the first 20 or whatever, and kind of talked about it, the way you have your opening thoughts, and sometimes things may change, hash or what they may put out there, and so you know, you kind of mix and match. I mean, you have your way you want to start the game. I mean, things can change if you get backed up, or say you get the ball to start in the red zone, right? You're not going to throw the pass to Van at the plus 20, the play action. You may throw a different pass, but yeah, just get into the rhythm. I mean, there's other, you know, the gains we felt good about. I mean, we got the first down against Green Bay, and then, you know, we took a shot in the passing game, and the ball got, you know, we got hit as we threw it, and a pick. So the result, no points. So they're just, every game's different, Zach. It's not just so rigid, but you do have your opening thoughts.
Mark, you talked about the growth of the passing game, and so often we concentrate on the young quarterback, but you got a young group of skill guys too. You talked early on in the year about spacing, and it looks like that's improved dramatically, and maybe giving him better looks in the passing game as well. Is that true?
Absolutely. You know, that's the thing that you consistently work. I mean, that's what needs to pay off. And again, the next step is the critical, you know, eliminating the critical errors. You get more points, and we will. But that, yeah, absolutely. Especially in the, you know, when teams will play you in zone, your spacing needs to be really good. But yeah, man, you need to win your one-on-one. So we've shown we're doing both of that, and we just got to continue to work. Not where we want to be, but it's certainly better than it has been.
You mentioned that last year, obviously you guys ran with Marcus a bit more. Dez's run here and there. I was just saying, is that something that Dez can do? Is
Well, he has. I mean, he scored a touchdown off it. right? He scored one against Green Bay, off of similar. And then last week too, against Houston, down in the red zone. It's an element you have, but we're just at a different point. We got different skill guys. We're just built a little bit different, and we've tried to evolve. I feel like we've got some good weapons in the pass game, along with in the rushing attacks. It's why you want to be more balanced. And, we got to continue to find ways, obviously, to have some more early success, but not what you want, but we were able to stay with it. Even having those 3 turnovers, still being a one possession game, allowed us not to have to just sit back there and be a stationary target in the pass game. And like I said, sometimes there's some ugly runs early. I think the final count, you get over 100, but it certainly helps in the protection. You just don't want to be one-dimensional one way or the other.
You had mentioned, it was 2 weeks ago, that sometimes you have to kind of not want to put too much on the genre.
Sure.
He's had, I think, 3 of the last 4 days have been under 50 yards rushing, and even, he said yesterday he was sore, which he's not
Sure.
surprised at that. Do you have to monitor maybe his usage a little bit more, even now as?
I think you got to be careful. I think it's not just physical, it's the mental things that can get some of these guys. I mean, you want him to do everything, and he's a unique player. And that's part of the things, too. You look at operationally, if you put too much on him, that's where CP coming back. You hope that's a give and take. I mean, you got to be careful. But, he's here, and he's helped us a lot. But, yeah, I mean, there's certainly, you got to look at that all the time.
You beat them in every major statistical category yesterday.
Yeah.
How do you not be frustrated at a loss like that when you dominate in the stat sheet?
Well, I mean, like you said, right? What was it, over 200 yards and about 10 more minutes, give or take, right? Time of possession. But it came down to the turnovers, and if you want to count the punt return as a turnover, that's the stuff. And and you got to give them credit because the opportunities they got, they turned them into touchdowns. And that was the difference in the game. But yeah, certainly that's where frustrated, then you got to look at yourself and say, all right, what can we do? What can we do better? How do we take that next step? I mean, I always think this, like, you can make a lot of excuses, but your record is what it is. And we deserve to be 3-3. Do we think we had some chances to be better? Absolutely. But that's not where we're at. Good news is we got a huge game Sunday down in Tampa. Chance to get another divisional win. That could feel like 2. They'll be ready to go. So that's, thankfully, season's not over, but sure, it can make you not feel great. But we know we got work to do, and we have to eliminate that. You have to acknowledge it. I mean, that's what it is.
To go back to that final drive, that 2-minute drive, was Drake? It looked like he was hobbled early in that drive.
He came out.
Did that impact the?
Yeah, and that's where, like I said, like all the 3 of the operational things, they're all different. Shouldn't happen. They did. So you look at why it happened. Yeah, he came out. So when you're in those moments, tell you, hey, he's down. Okay, he's back up. So we even subbed. Actually thought logistically, we were talking about a little bit. You don't have to. Under 2 minutes on a running clock, you can sub. They won't stand over the ball. And so you can tell by the route depths. I mean, the guy's taking a lot of reps. As they're trying to get him a quick improvement, a good play, and we decided to clock it to save the timeout. But what you can't have happen, it did happen, and those are the things you take. You get a substitution to try to get him back in. You're trying to get a different call. You look up, you're low on the shot clock. Those are things that we need to improve. Different story from a week ago. Operated surgical down there, but that's the stuff that you gotta say, okay, what happened? Why did it happen? Just down in the red zone, same thing. Like all of them are different, and that definitely, as you go down, go up, fine line sometimes. It just keep it on track and adjust from there.
Anything else?
Thank you. Oh, you got one. All right, what you got?
Tampa Bay, what you got a good game coming up with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what are some of the things that it's got the defense the same, but
Sure,
the
yeah.
quarterback and so forth.
Absolutely. Yeah, so they play pretty good football. Obviously, they'll be coming off, loss. They'll be, they understand where they're at. We got to go down there, and the personnel we're very familiar with. They changed quarterbacks, obviously, with Baker. He's played some good football for him. Schemes changed a little bit, but we're very familiar defensively and special teams wise as they are with us. I mean, those are the division games. These are big games for you. Like I said, some of these feel like they count for 2. A chance to try to get to 2-0 in the division and get back on the winning track.
And what makes Coach Bowles' defenses so tough to?
Well, I think it's just a little bit, we saw a similar scheme in Jacksonville with Mike Caldwell. I think Todd's, I always think it's a sign of a great coach. The guy that's continued to evolve, some years, and it's looked a lot different than others and what he's trying to attack you with. So there's a lot of respect. I mean, I just think going back to the things that he did in Arizona, over a decade ago, to what he did in New York, and then what he's done in Tampa. So he's, I think, one of the better defensive coaches in this league. A ton of respect for him. But this is what the league is. It's competitive, and they know it. And so that's what I would say, D-Led. It's not copy, reprint.
Mm-hmm.
You can see stuff when you look at things like, I see what he's trying to do. It's pretty freaking smart. That's what I look at. Some guys you look at it, they're great players. They play simple and they fly around. Or you see guys like this, like kind of the chess match. But Todd Bowles, to me, is one of the better ones. Thank you.
All right, thanks.